What if I told you that you can improve your language learning by watching TV? It's an amazing way to create an immersive environment and level up your listening skills. However, you still need to put in some effort to make the most out of it. You might be wondering, should I turn on subtitles? How do I take notes? What's the best way to learn effectively while still enjoying the experience? I will share exact methods in this video to make this process easier and fun. My name is Julianne. I speak English, Mandarin, and Japanese. Last year, I started learning French and recently added Korean to my language goals. Now let's get started with the video. Still watching with subtitles in your native language, while you might pick up a few words and expressions over time, it won't take you far. Instead, try watching with subtitles in the language you're learning. For example, I enjoyed watching Squid Game, so I rewatched it with Korean subtitles to learn beginner level Korean. You don't have to necessarily start with cartoons because you may not be invested in the plotline for you to continue watching it. If you don't know what to watch, pick a genre that you genuinely enjoy. I love mystery and thriller shows, so I've been watching Lupin to improve my French. Reality TV show is another great option. It's full of natural conversations and informal speech patterns. The key here is to choose something that you will actually stick with because you love the content. Now we picked a show, but how to actually learn a language by turning on the subtitles. One beginner-friendly method is pausing when a word or phrase is repeated several times in a video, and then writing it down. Focus on high-frequency expressions that are useful in daily life. Instead of jotting down individual words, try noting entire sentences. Later, break down the sentence to understand each word's meaning. This way, you avoid pausing after every sentence and interrupting the entire experience. Before using this method, you should know the alphabet, as this will help you expand your vocabulary more effectively. For example, after one episode, I might have a list of basic sentences. As I study them, I notice overlaps with what I've learned from other materials. I had a better understanding of when and how to use specific sentences like 잠시만요, as I remembered the context they were being used in the show. Another tip is to connect emotionally with a character. I love imitating my favorite character's intonation and word choices.
움직이지 말고 집 거기 들어가게. 뭐가 있는지 한번 보게. 뭐가 있는지 한번 보게. 뭐가 있는지 한번 보게.
If you don't have a favorite character, that's okay. You can try a few ways to engage with the show. For example, make a list of your favorite lines from the show or choose a scene to learn the lines. I don't always take notes while watching TV shows. Sometimes I prefer a more relaxed approach. One key rule I follow is to avoid multitasking. To get the best results, I make sure to give my full attention to what's happening on the screen. To help with this, I use a browser extension that displays two sets of subtitles simultaneously. I set French as the primary subtitle and English as the secondary. This setup forces me to focus on the French first before referring to the English for clarification. It can be challenging to keep up with both the subtitles and the scenes, so I divide each episode into manageable segments. Instead of breaking the episode into fixed time intervals like 10 or 20 minutes, I watch scene by scene. If I don't understand most of the conversations in a particular scene, I will go back and rewatch it until I get a better grasp. This way, I also get to understand the cultural context, not just learning new words and expressions. I think this is a great method to try when you are on a time crunch. If you've reached a point where you no longer rely heavily on subtitles, challenge yourself by watching without them entirely. For Japanese, I don't have any trouble watching anime, and I highly recommend Studio Ghibli movies. Here's how I approach this. While watching, I jot down any unfamiliar words or phrases, either on paper or in my notes app. This method feels more like a listening practice because I focus on capturing words and sentences I don't immediately recognize. One benefit of doing this is that it trains my ears to pick up words more easily over time. Interestingly, I often find that some of the words I write down are ones I already know but didn't recognize at first. By repeatedly encountering them in context, I start bridging that gap. What's different about this method is that I try not to pause the video. If I hear something, I write it down immediately and keep going. I also don't watch the entire movie in one setting. Because it requires a lot of focus, I will usually watch half of the movie one day and finish the other half the next day. When learning a language, using advanced vocabulary can be impressive, but I believe there's something more impactful about using simple words in an articulate way. That's why I enjoy collecting lines from Ghibli movies. They're beautifully written. I recently finished A Boy and the Heron. I like to share my favorite lines with you. Wareo manabu mono o shisu. This is an old expression meaning we should always learn and become better versions of ourselves. この世界が美しい世界になるか、醜い世界になるかはすべて君にかかるんだ. Whether this world will be a beautiful or ugly place depends entirely on you. I'm not saying you can learn a language just by watching TV. It's only one part of the process. I still use textbook. I practice my speaking regularly. That being said, Netflix is an amazing tool to complement your study. I hope these methods inspire you to watch a TV show in your target language today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.